Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 2,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
What's going on, Jeromes? Beautiful Wednesday. Birds are chirping, things are happening, and it's time for another Vikings news dump. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Where have I been? What happened to the news dumps? Look, life happens, man. I've been taking the kids to a water park. Do you know how much mental bandwidth that takes? Spring break, kids running around, they're always hungry, they want more tickets, they want more everything. It is what it is. But we're back from outer space, ready for the stretch run heading into the draft. And there's a lot to talk about. Here's the thing about Vikings fans that I've noticed over the years. We like to undersell things, right? Because if you never have a goal in life, you're never disappointed, and it feels phenomenal. But we've had this problem before. We get hyped up about a season, it doesn't work out, and then it's like, nobody told you life was going to be this way. And I feel like this offseason, the Vikings haven't done a ton in terms of free agency splash moves, but what they have done is seismic. Adding Kyler Murray on the league minimum. Let me say that again, Kyler Murray, league minimum. That's the contract situation we're working with. And I feel like people aren't talking about that enough. Here's the reality. If Kyler Murray gets his stuff together, he's a top 10 quarterback in this league. The Vikings are getting him for league minimum. That's an absolute steal. That's the kind of contract situation that changes everything about your salary cap, about your flexibility, about your ability to build around your quarterback. Kyler Murray at league minimum is a home run. Period. Now, J.J. McCarthy obviously had his splashes in his first year starting as a rookie. High highs, low lows, inconsistent overall. Do I think J.J. McCarthy at 23 years old can develop consistency and become a solid starting NFL quarterback? Yes, absolutely. Is that going to happen right now? Probably not, but the potential is there, the talent is there, and he's got time to develop. Then you've got Carson Wentz. Welcome back, buddy. Carson Wentz, the guy who's always just hanging around in NFL rosters. He's a name, he's a backup option, he's there. Now here's where people are getting this completely wrong. A lot of folks think the Vikings need to handle J.J. McCarthy with kid gloves, that the organization needs to be careful about how they treat him. And I'm telling you straight up, I don't think that's the case. This is a grown man's league. If you're not cutting the mustard, you're not cutting the mustard. That's just reality. And I feel like people are projecting their own insecurities onto J.J. McCarthy, because I keep hearing this narrative. If the Vikings bring in competition for J.J., he's going to demand a trade. Really? To who? Who's going to give up massive capital for J.J. McCarthy at this stage of his career? He's had his high highs, his low lows. He's a young quarterback with a rookie contract who showed potential but also serious inconsistency. What team is trading multiple draft picks for that? Nobody. Nobody's doing that. And I love this other take that's floating around. If the Vikings pick up Kyler, JJ is just going to take his ball and go home. Again, with the insecurity projections. That's not how professional football works. That's not how contracts work. JJ McCarthy is under contract, a rookie contract. That's very inflexible. He's getting paid what the rookie deal pays him. He's going to get his shot. But in the meantime, he's got to prepare like he's the guy every single week, even if he's not the guy. Here's what could actually happen that would be beautiful. JJ gets pissed off. He works his ass off. He prepares like a madman. Kyler comes in and plays well in 2026, but Kyler's not under contract for 2027. Same thing with Carson Wentz. And in year 4 of his contract, JJ's essentially in a contract year because the Vikings probably aren't going to pick up his 5th-year option. And guess what? JJ hops back into the job, he balls out, he gets paid at age 25. That's a pretty good setup. That's a comeback story people love. And you know what Kevin O'Connell said about this situation? He was honest with JJ before bringing in Kyler. He said, "We're going to elevate the room as a whole. We know there's a standard to playing that position that we need through a competitive environment. Get all of our quarterbacks to play to that standard. And when we do that, we're going to win football games." That's coaching. That's leadership. That's saying, this isn't personal. This is about making our team better. This is about iron sharpening iron. And I genuinely believe that's what's going to happen. Kyler's going to prove all the haters and losers wrong. JJ's going to get better preparing against Kyler every single day. Carson Wentz is going to be a capable backup when he's not injured. And the Vikings are going to win football games. This has been slept on so hard. People are so focused on narrative drama that they're missing the actual football logic. I feel pretty good about things. I really do. Now let's talk about the GM situation, because there's a lot happening behind the scenes. Rob Brzezinski, the interim GM, the caretaker, is expected to be a strong candidate for the full-time GM opening in Minnesota. Brzezinski declined to comment today when asked about his interest in the full-time role, saying he's focused on the present at the moment. That's coach speak. That's diplomatic language. That's what you say when you're trying to do the job well while also being professional about the broader situation. And here's what's been reported. The Vikings will begin the GM search after the draft. Now, that feels like they could be doing things now, but you know what? It's going to be Brzezinski's draft. It's going to be Kevin O'Connell's influence in the room. Brian Flores is going to have input as well. They're going to clean up the cap. They're not going to spend aggressively. They're going to roll into a bunch of cap space in 2027. Maybe they accumulate some extra draft capital. Who knows? But the mandate is clear. We need to get this right. We needed this reset. We needed to get it right. I still feel like Brzezinski is in a strong position for the job. They have to have open interviews for the GM opening. That's required. But I feel like come June, Robert is going to be the guy. I really do. But we'll see how it plays out. Now, here's something kind of funny about Brzezinski. His talking voice is not what you would expect. It's just not what you'd think. But you know what? The guy makes sense when he talks. He was quoted recently by Tom Pelissero on the Vikings roster situation. Brzezinski said, "You can't manufacture what's not there, like I wish I had your hair." He was talking to Tom Pelissero, and then he got into it. From the standpoint of how good I think our team can be and what else we can do as far as acquiring players to be elite, I don't know what any of that means. All I know is that we're trying to stack a good decision. Now, that's coach speak as a de facto GM. That's diplomatic language mixed with some actual truth. You can't force things. You can't manufacture talent that doesn't exist. All you can do is make good decisions and stack them together, and that's exactly what the Vikings are trying to do. Here's what's real about the Vikings offseason. They kept their powder dry. They didn't have a ton of free agents hit the market that would affect the compensatory formula. They made some strategic cuts and cleared up cap space. They haven't made a ton of signings outside of Kyler at league minimum. This really does seem like more of a caretaker role at this point. They've got a significant number of roster spots to fill, and they're going to hammer that in the draft as well as later free agency moves. Now here's where it gets interesting with Kyler specifically. Dan Orlovsky pointed out something important. Under Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings have ranked top 5 in under-center percentage and play action percentage. That's their identity. That's their scheme. But Kyler Murray has averaged only 3 under-center play action dropbacks per game in his entire career. That doesn't mean Kyler can't do it. It just means he hasn't really done it before, so they've got to meet in the middle. Kyler's going to be under center more than he's used to, and Kevin O'Connell needs to be less rigid in his thinking. He needs to adapt his offense, his overarching principles, and bend them toward Kyler's strengths. That's what good coaching is. That's flexibility. That's adaptation. And here's the bottom line. If Kevin O'Connell doesn't adjust the scheme to fit what Kyler does well, he's going to be fired. That's just the reality. You've got a top 10 quarterback on league minimum. You've got all the cap space in the world. You've got no excuses, so he better adapt. I think he will, but it remains to be seen. All right, let's talk about some new NFL rules that were approved by the owners. Some of this stuff is pretty specific to scenarios that come up 3 or 4 times a year, which is why the rule book is so damn thick. But here's what changed. They're going to permit the kicking team to declare an onside kick at any time during the game. This is to eliminate the kicking team's incentive to intentionally kick the ball out of bounds when kicking off from the 50-yard line. Makes sense. Give teams options. They've also modified kickoff alignment requirements for the receiving team's players in the setup zone. And here's the one that's going to be controversial. They're going to allow the NFL officiating department to correct and clear obvious misses by on-field officials for 1 year only. This is in the event that there's a work stoppage involving the game officials, represented by the NFL Referees Association. So basically, they're trying to avoid another Fail Mary situation. And I feel like this is Big Brother New York coming in, and conspiracy theorists are going to have a field day. Oh, New York made a call. Yeah, literally they did. And I feel like this is a test run. Eventually, they're just going to normalize this. They're going to have this when the real officials are back too. But nothing crazy happened. No tush-push changes, nothing like that. So yeah, kind of boring overall. Now, let's get to the draft discussion, because this is where it gets fun. Every single mock draft has Dylan Thierman going to the Vikings at 18. And look, I get it. I understand what happens when you get too deep into draft coverage. You get bored, you want different scenarios, you want to switch things up, so you pick somebody else. But here's the reality. Dylan Thierman is an absolute monster. Even before he blew up the combine, I would have been fine with him at 18. But people just get tired of it, I guess. They want different takes, and I understand that. You want variety. So Warren Sharp put out some alternative scenarios. What if the Vikings went with Jordan Tyson instead of Thierman? That would be fun. What about Kelrick Falk? The Vikings should and could have interest there. Malachi Lawrence, Omar Cooper Jr., Zion Young. Conception if his medicals check out. And I feel like he could be legit, man. Absolutely legit. Cade McDonald's on the board. So yeah, you'd still end up with something pretty good. Speaking of pretty good, Jer McCoy is a name everyone's talking about. He's a corner who didn't play this past season while recovering from an ACL tear. But at his pro day, he ran a 4.38 40 time, had a 30-inch vertical jump, and a 10.7 broad jump. That was the concern about McCoy, the comeback from the ACL. But here's the thing. Jamal McCoy was projected to be a top 10 pick coming into this season before he tore that ACL. And I think he's got a chance to still go top 15. So he's slightly out of range for the Vikings at 18. But McCoy is just a dude, man. An absolute stud. I feel like he's going to end up being the best corner in this draft. And I feel like within a couple of years, he'll be a top 10 corner in the league. The combination of aggressiveness, instincts, athleticism, the only question was the knee. But that seems to be checked off. Everything's good to go. McCoy's a special prospect. Now, here's a feel-good story. Cam Dankler. You remember Cam Dankler? Third-round pick by the Vikings out of Mississippi State. The Bulldogs represent. After the Vikings let him go, he bounced around to like 17 different teams in 5 years. He's been everywhere, but now he's with the USFL's Louisville Kangs, and he's looked good. 7 tackles, 5 solo, a tackle for loss, and 2 pass broken up. What's beautiful about Dansler is that he's been very open on social media about his journey. When he was with the Vikings, he wasn't mature enough. He wasn't ready to be a professional. And he admits that. He owns that. And you know what? That kind of growth, that kind of self-awareness, that kind of willingness to admit your mistakes and grow from them, that's real. That's what actual maturity looks like. I think Dankler's going to get back in the league. I really do. I think he'll have a strong USFL season, and some team is going to add him to their 90-man roster because the guy's got length for days. He's tall, rangy, and he's got a really good perspective on life and his career now. I'm rooting for him. Hopefully, he gets another crack in the league. And honestly, the Vikings could use the depth. Stranger things have happened. Why not bring back one of your own? Now, here's something that's been bugging me. Are the Vikings ever going to get Hard Knocks? It's kind of annoying that we never get featured. The Seahawks are featured on this summer's Hard Knocks. The Patriots will be featured in 2027. The 2 teams that came out of the Super Bowl, I get it. But I would love to see the Vikings with some kind of secret documentary. Amazon's All or Nothing, when that was a thing, cameras embedded, just following the team around. That would be incredible. That would be really, really good, man. Hopefully one day. All right. And I want to take a moment here to acknowledge the passing of 2 great Vikings legends, Jeff Seaman and Joey Browner. We didn't get a chance to talk about them when it first happened because we were traveling, and we always like to give full respect and full tribute to these guys. It's hard to do these tributes from a random hotel room, you know? Jeff Seaman, 1950 to 2026. 4-time Pro Bowler, linebacker out of Stanford, just a Vikings legend. Hard-hitting, old-school linebacker. He was on the 50 greatest Vikings list and was really just a tone setter for the Vikings back in the day, an incredible person who lived with his family in Minnesota, a real pillar of the community. R.I.P. to Jeff Seaman and Joey Browner, 1960 to 2026, pride of USC. He was drafted in that famous 1983 draft, the one with 6 quarterbacks in the first round where Dan Marino fell all the way. The Vikings had a chance to draft Marino, but instead they got Joey Browner, and they nailed it. Hell yeah, man. That's right, Joey Browner with the Vikings from 1983 to 1990. First-team All-Pro 4 times, 6-time Pro Bowler. Vikings Ring of Honor. He was only 65 years old. Way too soon, way too young. Our prayers and condolences go out to the Seaman and Browner families during this time. These were giants of Vikings history, and they'll be remembered forever. So that's the Vikings news dump. We've covered a lot of ground. The quarterback room situation with Kyler, JJ, and Carson. The GM search with Brzezinski positioned well. The draft talk with various scenarios at 18. The new NFL rules, the feel-good story of Cam Dankler trying to get back, and the tributes to Jeff Seaman and Joey Browner. This team is in transition, but it's a transition with purpose. It's a reset with a plan. Kyler, at league minimum, changes everything about how we should think about this offense. The development of J.J. McCarthy in a competitive environment could pay huge dividends down the line. And the strategic approach to the draft and free agency suggests that the Vikings are thinking long-term, not just trying to win right now. If you're digging this content, if you love the way we break down Vikings news and analysis, then I need you to hit that like button, drop a comment. Tell me what you think about the Kyler situation. Tell me where you'd go with the 18th pick. Tell me your thoughts on the quarterback room. Engage with this content, because that's what builds a real community. And please, smash that subscribe button, get on that notification bell. We're pushing for 2,000 subscribers, and every single one of you helps us get closer to that goal. Help us build Report Vikings into the destination for real Vikings fans who think critically about this team, who understand the nuances, who appreciate good football analysis. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Now go get that production
Hey
value.
everyone, I'm working to hit 2,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.